Republican Congressman Mike Haridopolos of Florida, thank you for being here. So I loved hearing that mix of voters there, especially the person who said you were no longer effective at a certain point. And I think Massey sort of represents what I would call whatever the oppositional energy is left in the Republican Party, meaning people, he feels like he can say no to things. And Trump has been found to be able to primary the people he does not like when you look at what happened with the Republicans in Indiana. Do you think that people who stand up to Trump the way he does so specifically can survive primaries?
Well, we'll find out today. And I think that what most Republicans I talk to are frustrated by is when we had the big, beautiful bill, for example, when we cut taxes on overtime, tips, Social Security, the common sense measures we put into place to secure the border, Thomas Massey voted no. It was a fundamental reason what gave us the opportunity to win in 2024, and he has chosen to go to his own path, and today is decision day.
Has he burned every bridge the way somebody implied
I think
here?
a lot of members see that he is looking out for Thomas Massey, as opposed to what the agenda is for the Republican Party. And today's decision day, we'll have to see what happens. We saw what happened last weekend in Louisiana. We'll have to see what happens tonight in Kentucky.
Yeah, and also what happened in Indiana, as I mentioned, Jeff Zeleny was talking with Massey yesterday if he thought that he was in trouble here, and here's what he had to say.
I don't think so. They don't know what happened to Bill Cassidy or to those senators in Indiana, and both of those situations are unique from mine. Bill Cassidy voted to impeach the president. That's something I've never done and I would never do, and his constituents were mad about that, right? I'm still with my constituents, in spite of the billionaire spending millions of dollars to convince them I'm not. I think most of my constituents know that.
Terry, can he make those distinctions?
Look, I think the biggest weakness that Massey has, along with everyone else that identifies this way in Congress, is that they're libertarians. Libertarians are inherently independent-minded. They support rugged individualism over the rest of the team, and it's not very practical. I think that I really do like, though, the lady that was working in the kitchen who's saying, you know, I'm going to vote however I want. That's so American.
Because there are certain states, New Hampshire, et cetera, places where people are like, we don't want to be bossed around. We thought that about Indiana, and then 5 of the 7 Indiana Republicans that said no to redistricting are out of a job.
Well, and that's why Trump has already won. Even if Thomas Massey actually wins and pulls this out tonight, the message has been sent. You cross the president, there is going to be a huge political cost. And even if you do survive the primary, I mean, Thomas Massey is now fighting for his political life just as a result of that. And the message has been sent, and you're going to see Republicans stay in line, at least through the midterms.
It's a very expensive message. This is the most expensive primary in history so far, $35 million as of Monday. There are a lot of donors also from AIPAC, from Republican Jewish Coalition, because of Massey's comments on the war in Iran. And I did wonder, with Hegseth there, with the military base there, is this also a little bit of a proxy for that conversation?
It absolutely is. And $35 million is not even getting past the surface. If you look at what happened in Louisiana with $50 million, if you look in Texas with $150 million, this is what's great for a Democratic strategist, is none of that money was spent beating up Democrats. That was money beating up Republicans, each other, saying why they suck. Then what about us? And so we like to sit back and watch that.
I'm glad you're
weighing in
with that.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
I'll also say that Donald Trump is still very popular in one little piece of the American electorate, and that is these Republican primaries. To your point, Alex, is like, love him or hate him, I've always given Donald Trump credit for being a good tactician when it comes to politics, but he is very popular in a Democratic primary. And again, boys and girls at home, in a Democratic primary, just a little bit of voters make a decision for the entire congressional district, because most of these guys, Democrat or Republican, are in very safe seats to where those primary voters determine who will be your congressman.
In the meantime, do you think that Pete Hegseth should be campaigning for anyone right now?
Well, it's common things where cabinet members campaign. There's no doubt about it.
Not defense secretaries during a war.
Well,
unless I miss Rumsfeld hanging out in the midterms.
No, I mean, this is a reality of politics today. He's out there aggressively pushing for the president's person.
Reality meaning no one is immune from the requirements of having to go onto the ground, no matter what your gig is.
Well, I think this is politics. Welcome to it. And talking about money, this is almost as much money as the Democrats burned in Virginia doing a bad idea on reapportionment. But that said, I think that Thomas Massey will have his day in court today, and we'll see the verdict. And I'm interested to see it just like everyone else.
Okay, so speaking of which, because you've got your own day in court coming up of public opinion, we've got you facing a new challenger because there are new maps pushed by Florida, pushed by Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, this map, I want to show folks, could increase Republican advantage in Florida's House delegation to 24 to 4, up from the current split of 20 to 8. And I want to first just talk about the fact that this map exists. Were you into this push? Were you happy or just going along with the team?
Well, as I said publicly, and we'll say it again today, it's a state decision. And whatever the decision they made, I was comfortable with it. In Florida, we have very specific rules. If you look at the maps, for example, what they tried to do in Virginia, and they have already done in states like Illinois, it looks like a Rorschach test. If you look at the map in Florida, you actually keep counties and cities together. That's the way that I had to live under when I drew the lines back in 2012 when I was president of the Senate. Whatever the verdict is, I'm ready to run for re-election. I'll run on my record and keep the promises that I made.
And we should be clear, there's a bunch of lawsuits filed against DeSantis about these maps, especially because it's supposed to be voter approved. There are supposed to be some gerrymandering standards there. And as we were learning, this is like in each state, the rules are a little different. I want to play for you guys some voters from Tallahassee.
And what we are here to do is to make sure that our voices are heard, to make sure people understand that what is happening is actually illegal. It is a violation of the Constitution.
What's going on with the districting wars that keeps us going?
I mean, we've already set off legal trench warfare. It's going to go well beyond these midterms, but also I actually think you're going to see it ramp up.
Yeah, I normally don't like war analogies, but I feel like that's fitting.
Thank you.
Because you're just in there hurting each other to what end?
And it's also, it's going to be, we're going to pick up one seat, one seat in Maryland. Then the Republicans are going to pick up one seat in Indiana. And you're going to go state by state by state. And it's going to go through 2027, 2028, and likely beyond. We have set, I think what Donald Trump has done and the Democrats' backlash to it has set off sort of an unprecedented
but let's say
redistricting
it didn't start with Donald Trump. It started in 2023 in New York State. That is where this all began, in 2023. I just want to clarify it.
Yeah.
Of course, we had the reaction with Donald Trump, but this started in New York State in 2023.
I kind of feel like this started in the 1800s in Massachusetts, but I might be biased because I'm from Massachusetts.
That is accurate.
I think for the public, they don't look at the start; they look at the outcome and whether or not they're on the losing side of that. Because over time, if we look at Trump's approval rating, it's 59% disapprove, right? And it starts to look like, is all of this happening just to somehow mitigate their voice if they decide to vote against him? Here's a look at your new district. Florida 8 is now going to add a portion of eastern Orange County, incorporate University of Central Florida. Is this going to make things easier or harder for you? I know you've got a challenger.
As we expected, as we should, and we had one last time. I think it's going to be pretty much the same district. The bulk of my district is Brevard County, where I represent Kennedy Space Center, where NASA is booming, SpaceX is booming, Blue Origin is booming. It's an area that's really enjoyed an economic comeback. And I can't wait to get on the campaign trail and talk about what we can do to make life better.
What are you going to say to voters who come to you and say, I don't think all this is fair. I don't like this. I don't like the redistricting wars.
I think it's the same I just said to you, Audie. This is something that two things happen. One is that it's the state decision they chose to do this. Second, of course, the United States Supreme Court has ruled on the race issue that back 18 years ago, Barack Obama was elected president of the United States, and we want to have colorblind elections. As Martin Luther King talked about in 1963, I think August of 63, it's not the color of your skin, but the content of your character. And that's what people want to have elections on, not worried about the race issue as much as is picking the person that's best for their district.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of this message that evokes civil rights activists in the conversation about the legislation that they helped bring to this country, right? The Voting Rights Act, that somehow we've reached this race-neutral point. How do Democrats talk in response?
We're going to have a real-time test in less than 6 months. The American public sent a message to Washington when they elected Donald Trump in 24. And Democrats, again, I sat here and said, you should heed this. American public is frustrated. They're not liking what Democrats are selling. They think this guy, as crazy as I think he is something different. But they're also going to send a message in these midterms. The Congress could be exactly right. I'm not going to sit here and derive him and say he's ignorant or dumb. I'm just going to say the American people are going to tell us in 6 months the way they feel about these maps and about the corruption. There's one thing that Donald Trump did that was very good. He let the American people go. The American government corporate America, whoever, they're getting it over on you. And right now, that anxiety is not being felt by anybody except you, and nobody's doing anything about it because the system is corrupt. And what these maps show, Democrat or Republican, is that the system is still corrupt.
Well, I will just put in one note for the voter, which is one of the things I feel is like, oh, wait a second, no matter what I do or what my vote is, someone somewhere else can decide, well, let's just wiggle this line this way and wiggle this line that way, and that will somehow negate what this voter thinks. It almost feels like a slap in the face when Congress has passed so little legislation. Like the only thing they're excited about is this.
Well, I'd say a couple things. One, you went back to history and gerrymandering. That's a reality. I guess I said, I think when folks look at maps, they look at Illinois. You talk about drawing some unique lines. Go look at Illinois or what they tried to do in Virginia. In contrast, look at the Florida maps. They actually keep counties and cities together. And that said, again, the voters have the ultimate say. I would actually agree. I think the voters do have the ultimate say here. But in general, what we passed, the big bill, you say that we didn't pass a lot of legislation.
No, I mean, historically, compared to other Congresses, it's not a lot of legislation.
Well, but again, when you look at the big bill we passed in July, that was like 15 bills in one. It was a massive bill, no doubt, because we had to handle the problem of illegal immigration. We wanted to help people out hardest hit by inflation. That's why we cut taxes on overtime, tips, and Social Security. And now, of course, we're struggling with this final measure. We'll hopefully pass this week to finally fully fund our national security apparatus.
So why are his
gas
job handling approval so low?
I think it's as simple as gas prices right now. There's no doubt about it. And I think the president is correct. When this conflict ends, gas prices go down. Because as you know, Audie, when he in 2025, gas prices got lower than $3 a gallon because we're finally producing more oil in America. We've gone from less than 9 million barrels a day to over 13 million. And we're also fracking.
But now people can point to a specific policy shift in the attack on Iran as the cause.
But we would also say that every Republican and every Democrat president since 1979 says Iran has been a problem. Now, every neighbor of Iran can't stand them so much. They're siding with America and Israel. Let's hope this conflict ends soon because gas prices are bad. They're horrible right now. But we can turn this around once this war ends. Okay. And remember, Venezuelan oil is coming online soon, and that's 2 million to 3 million barrels a day.
I hear the message. The message is wait and see.
and
I hear you.
Fair.
Don't think I'm
fair.
not hearing you, but the message is wait and see.